look at that. Look at how much food there is for under $10. Whereas most people would pay $10 for one of those containers. And I've just made about 8 meals for $10.
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Carl. I'm a student from Australia. I'm studying architecture, and today I'm going to be talking about meal prepping. So what is meal prepping? Pretty much it's where you cook up all your food for the week in one batch in bulk and then separate it into small containers which you can bring to uni for lunch or like go to work with your lunch in a small container, something like this. So yeah, you'll cook about like 7 of these all at once and eat it throughout the week. That's about it. So I was talking to some of my mates just the other day about this actually, and we were talking about how dangerous it is to not bring food to uni. Especially in Australia, a lot of students, they don't bring their lunch and they'll go and buy lunch from the local food shop, and they'll spend easily $10, $15 or $20 just on one meal, and I find that gets a bit excessive, especially when you're going to uni 4 days a week. That's $60 or so just in food. And we often joke about this as students, being broke, but essentially you don't have to be. It's just the choices we make which kind of plays out how our financial standings go. So I often talk about the difference between instant gratification and delayed gratification. Pretty much the difference between these two terms is instant gratification is kind of something that you don't really put in any work and you get the reward straight away. And then delayed gratification is kind of what I'm trying to promote. It's the idea of putting in the hard work now and receiving the benefits later. Now, I strongly believe to be successful, you got to make sacrifices, and so the earlier you make those sacrifices, the better off you'll be, and the earlier you'll become successful, I guess. And so what this has to do with meal prepping is that, meal prepping, you're putting in that initial hour's work cooking, but then you've got that food for the rest of the week, and you've set yourself up so that you don't have to go buy lunch, and you've got, a healthy meal, and it's what's in it, it's what you want to eat. By putting in that initial hour's work, you're saving time and money just from that initial investment of time and money. So when I cook up my bulk meals, I can often make 7 to 8 meals for anywhere from $10 to $20 in Australian dollars, that is. And that works out to be about $2.85, I think it is, per meal. So obviously $2.85 compared to the $10, $15, $20 you'd spend at the shop, it's a big difference and you're saving a lot of money. So I'm a 19-year-old whose parents never really cooked for me, and I had to learn this on my own. As I'm tight with my money, because I have to pay the bills and whatnot where I live, so I've kind of been experimenting with the most efficient ways to cook meals, and since I've started meal prepping, I've been eating a lot more healthier than when I was just living off 2-minute noodles and toasted sandwiches. That was a bad time. And so with meal prepping, you're not just saving that $60 a week. I believe that compound interest works really well. So if you're putting that extra $60 onto your college funds or your house loan or something like that, not college funds, your college loan or your house loan or something like that, in the long run, you're saving a lot more money because the way compound interest works. So if I put an extra $60 on my house loan per week, when you put it into the calculator, I think I end up saving, taking off $40,000 off my loan in the long run, because it is reducing the time of the loan, and so I end up spending less money on my house, which is awesome. Alternatively, you could put that money into your college loan and you end up spending a lot less money because you're paying off the interest faster. Again, this kind of plays into the idea of delaying gratification, making that sacrifice of eating out, and then you reap the reward later of spending less money on your loans. So meal prepping isn't just good for saving money, it creates organization in your life because you're creating these systems and routines. If you cook every Sunday, then you don't have to think about what you're going to eat Monday to Sunday. And so if you spend less time thinking about what you're going to be eating, then you can spend more time thinking about your studying or, getting a job or something like that. So it'd be very hard for me to give you just one recipe that everyone would like to eat. So I'm not actually going to give you, just the recipe to use or whatever. You can find them for yourself. There's plenty of information on the internet. But I will give you some good tips about saving money and saving time when meal prepping. I'll start off by talking about the containers I use because I get a lot of questions about this. This is an example of the container I use. It's very simple and that's all you need, just a normal container. We actually sell these on our store, so if you want to pick them up, I think they're $20 or something for 10 of them. You won't find them any cheaper anywhere else, but if you don't like them, I think they come in like 3 compartment, 2 compartment and 1 compartment ones. If you don't like them, you can go on Amazon or something. There's always just cheap, simple containers anywhere you go. You can go to the local supermarket as well to buy them. So I'll start with the biggest tips for saving money. First of all, it's good to buy in bulk. Like when I buy my rice, I'll buy the big 5 kilogram bags when they're on sale. They do a half price sale kind of every 2 months or so, which is perfect because that's how long it takes me to go through my rice. So I end up saving, I think it's like $16 down to $8, and it works out to be $1.60 per kilogram, which is a lot cheaper than buying the 1 kilogram bags, which are something like $3 per kilogram. That's a good thing as well. Buying bulk meat, you can always freeze it, just chuck it in the freezer and you can keep it there for months, I'm pretty sure. But you do have to be rational when buying in bulk. Obviously, you can't just chuck things like spinach in the freezer. It's not going to last too long. And so, it's cheaper in bulk, but if you're going to throw out half of it, then it's going to just be a waste of money anyway. So that leads me into the next tip. Always check the expiry dates. Supermarkets like to hide the kind of newest stock, like the newer produce or whatever, in the back of the shelves to make customers buy the older stuff first. But I say screw them, they can afford to lose money and you can't being a student. Always check the expiry dates and go for the newer stuff that's going to be expiring at a later date. So this is an obvious one, buy your stuff on special. But saying that, actually look at the prices. When I used to shop with my dad, he would kind of just grab whatever, like whatever's on special, and he'd think it's a good deal. And I find that I'd go back and check, and the thing with the big yellow sticker saying it's on special might be 30 cents for 100 grams or something like that. But the brand next to it is 16 cents per 100 grams, and that doesn't have the big special sticker on it or anything. I'm not too sure about other countries, but in Australia they show that kind of information. Not very obviously, but they kind of try to hide it so you don't look at it, but definitely look at that stuff. So success is about making sacrifices, as I stated earlier. So you might need to sacrifice getting the premium brand, for the home brand. But saying that, if it makes something uneatable, just spend the extra $2. It's not worth it. You don't want to cook up a whole bunch of stuff and have one bite and realize you don't enjoy the taste and throw it all out. So now we'll look at some tips for saving time, because I don't think many people want to be spending half a day cooking. Some people might enjoy that. I personally hate cooking, so I want to just get it over and done with. Over the last couple of years when I've been meal prepping, I've been creating systems and thinking about the best way I can do it. So I'm going to share some of my time-saving tips with you. So the only real tip I have for saving time is to cook multiple things at once. I'll show you this by me just cooking one of my meals that I do quite often. It's just rice, pasta, sauce, veggies and meat. I'll chuck it all together. I'll walk you through that and show you how I do that, and so you can see kind of my system that I've created to get it done in the least amount of time. And hopefully that kind of sparks some ideas for you about how you can cut down on time and, get your cooking over and done with. So I'd just like to take a moment to encourage you to subscribe to this channel and get notified when we post, and leave a like and comment as well. I read all the comments, so if you've got any queries or questions, I will reply, and hopefully I can help you out, or someone else can if I can't. With that said, let's go have a look at how I cook my meal.
Hey guys, so welcome to my kitchen. So we're going to be cooking some spicy honey mustard chicken with rice, veggies and pasta. Here's the 5 kilogram bag of rice I was talking about earlier. And everything here actually costs under $10, so it's extremely cheap for what it is, and it's going to make a lot of food. So keeping in mind we're trying to do multiple things at once to save time, I always start by boiling the kettle, as it's faster than heating up the water in the pot. A good tip to speed up the time it takes for the water to boil is to use hot tap water. For one bag of pasta, I use about 3.5 litres of water, which works out to be 2 full kettles. You can use anywhere from 3 to 5 litres depending on how you like your pasta. So once you've filled up the kettle, you can get it going and wait for it to boil, moving on to the next thing. So now that the water is boiling, I like to get the rice cooking before anything else, as this is the limiting factor, I guess, for the time it takes to cook, as it is the longest out of anything that it takes. So the sooner I get the rice going, the sooner I'll be finished cooking. I'll be using 3 cups of brown rice in this dish, as brown rice, correct me if I'm wrong, is the healthiest rice you can get. The great thing about using rice in your meal preps is that it's cheap and really bulky, and it bulks up the amount of food you get, as 3 cups of raw rice makes double the amount of rice once it's cooked. So I recommend washing your rice before putting it in the rice cooker. If you don't have a rice cooker, you can cook rice on the stove with a pot, but I recommend buying one, even just a cheap one if you're planning on eating lots of rice, as it makes it a bit easier. If you own a measuring jug as well, it'll be much easier to measure out rice. Mine broke not too long ago, so I'm due to get another one. For now, the red cup will have to do. So the kettle is finished boiling, so what I'll do is pour it into a pot and turn the heat on. This allows it to keep on boiling while the next lot of water starts boiling in the kettle. Now I can fill up the next kettle of water and set it aside. While the second lot of water is boiling, I like to wash the rice to make it cook cleaner in the rice cooker. It helps remove all the starch that causes the rice cooker to overflow. I recommend washing the rice until the water that runs out of it becomes clear. I'd say that's just about good enough. Next up, add your water to the rice cooker as it says on the packet. I think with brown rice, it's for every cup of rice, you need 2 cups of water. So I'm doing 3 cups of rice, so I'm adding 6 cups of water. Again, if you had a measuring cup, this would be a much faster process, but here we go. So now that we've added the water to the rice cooker, I like to give it a little bit of a shake to even it out. Now you can feel free to turn it on and chuck the lid on as well, and we'll leave it to do its thing. And our second kettle full of water has finished as well, so we can add that to our pot and then add our pasta. Once you've added your pasta, don't forget to add a timer as well. You can check the packet to see how long you should put it on for, or do it to taste. This packet recommends it boils for 11 minutes, so that's how long I'm going to be doing it for. Don't forget to also add your salt. For every packet of pasta you put in, I think a packet is 500 grams, you use roughly 1 tablespoon of salt, but you can kind of just guess this as you want. So now it's time to flatten the chicken breast. I'll be using my trusty meat tenderizer, also known as a glass for drinking. So the pasta is cooking and the rice is doing its thing. Next we can cut up and season the meat. So every week I'll use a different meat with pasta, rice and veggies, and that could be anything like pork, beef or lamb mince or chicken, salmon or tuna, just to diversify what I eat and not always be eating the same thing. When I cut up my chicken, I'll always flatten it first and then slice it in half, and then from there cut it up into little pieces. So for my seasoning, I add self-raising flour. I think you could just use any flour, and that kind of gives it, like your chicken, a crispy kind of layer on the outside. I use chili, I use pepper and salt, and there's the self-raising flour. So I add my chicken to my seasoning and start mixing it with my hands. That's pretty straightforward, I guess. So what I forgot to do this time was to turn this pan on before I started cutting up the chicken, because then usually I'd be able to just chuck the chicken straight onto the pan and it would already be hot, but now I have to wait. So the flat pan is actually for my veggies, and this wok is for the chicken breasts, which are going to be going in there right now. But first, the timer's just gone off for the pasta, so we're going to be turning that off and putting it in the strainer for it to get rid of all the water. So now that the pasta is cooling down, I like to add my veggies to the pan. And I mean lots of veggies. And don't forget to stir your meat every now and then. So I've just added my honey mustard sauce to my chicken, and the vegetables are still cooking. It's starting to smell really nice. And as you can see, the rice is still cooking. What I like to do when I'm waiting, I like to just do my dishes, so it saves me just stacking up like what most people would usually do. The other dishes in there aren't mine, so I'm not going to touch them. Another thing you can do while waiting is set up your containers so that they're ready to be filled up once you're finished cooking. Otherwise you're just going to be waiting around for the rice to finish. And I might leave this for another video, but there are some things that you can regrow from home, such as spring onions and lettuce and stuff like that, and it can save you a little bit of money. So if you're interested in that, leave a comment and I'll teach you how to do that as well. So that looks like the rice is all done, so pretty much now it's just a matter of combining everything into the single bowl. I like to just chuck it all with the rice because it's the biggest bowl I've got, and just give it all a stir. I add the pasta, then the veggies, and then I add the chicken, and then it's just a matter of stirring it all up so it's not all clumped together. And then you can start filling up the containers. And voila! Look at that. Look at how much food there is for under $10. Whereas most people would pay $10 for one of those containers if they go to a store. I know a lot of my friends that go out to a Vietnamese place or something and spend $15 just for a single container of food like this. And I've just made about 8 meals for $10. So how easy was that? Look at that, there's 6 meals there. I can take one to uni, that's my lunch. I just put it in the microwave or I can have it cold. It's as easy as that. Usually what I'll do when I meal prep, I'll make a bowl for now, and then I don't need a container for it. So yeah, there we have it guys. I finished my meal prep. Gonna have my first meal now. See how it tastes. It's bloody good. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this kind of video, let me know and I'll be more than happy to make more like it. Otherwise, if you absolutely hated it and I'll put you through hell trying to watch this, also let me know and I'll never make a video like this again. If you would like to buy some containers, I'll put the links in the description, and I do encourage you to start meal prepping as it's extremely beneficial, especially as a broke student. If you haven't already, you can always follow us on Instagram at @BeASuccessfulStudent, and feel free to check out our website. The link is in the description. We have heaps of content there for you, including interviews, books, checklists. We do a weekly newsletter to help you succeed. We have a blog, soon to be podcasts, courses, and a whole lot of other stuff. So yeah, definitely check that out if you get a minute. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Maybe I should keep the sound in this video. Yeah.